Hey everybody, it's Derek here. We're going to be taking a look at the news from the 8th to the 14th of November 2021. We skipped out last week, and I did actually record a video. It's just OBS decided to not pick up my microphone, and I was not arsed recording it again. I had stuff to do that day, and I just wasn't able to do another recording. But you know what? Not a whole lot that happened last week, so it's probably fine. Anyway, we're going to try something a little bit different this week. I'm mostly going to be showing video, and I'll just kind of read the news over it, more or less. The setup's a little bit weird in that Chrome YouTube video will stop playing, basically, if it's not in focus. So I'm kind of having to juggle some screens and stuff here. So I don't know. It's a work in progress. We'll see how we do. So we'll start with the absolute fucking shit that the GTA fucking trilogy definitive edition has been. There have been a great number of problems with this release. So first of all, the game's track release, so the music that was going to be in the definitive edition was leaked earlier, before the game was released. Or not leaked, I suppose it was actually officially announced, so it wasn't really leaked. But yeah, it was missing a lot of music that I guess licenses have lapsed for. Most of them would have been in Vice City. Pretty much every Michael Jackson song is missing. It's not too different because when the game was re-released for like mobile and PS3, I think, and Xbox 360 and stuff like that. Xbox 360. A lot of the music tracks were taken out from that, so it's probably going from that code is what was used for the definitive edition rather than the actual original code. So that's not exactly surprising, but it's not great because if it's meant to be the definitive edition, you would imagine it would have the original music in it, you know. Anyway, after that, we had that the PS4 and PS5 versions, the PS4 version is backwards compatible for PS5. People were able to access them early. So for whatever reason, if you had pre-ordered the game unlocked at midnight local time, as opposed to midnight US time, which is when it usually happens. Or not even midnight US time. It's midnight like Australian time. It's something that like everybody manages to get it on the same day, I think, is the way it's usually done. And that's how it was being done on Xbox. It's how it was being done on PC. It's how it was being done on Switch, but not on PlayStation for whatever reason. So a bunch of gameplay went up on Twitch basically a full day before the game was meant to be out for everybody else. And I think it's important to point out in this video, I'm not playing this. This is footage from a recent PlayStation Access stream of the GTA Definitive Edition from people who've never played the game before, so things don't go particularly well for them. Anyway, it's pretty funny. You check it out yourselves. It's actually a fairly hilarious stream. Anyway, then the game finally did release, and there were a bunch of bugs and bullshit going on. There's a bunch of graphical issues. There's a bunch of weird texturing. There's a lot of shit. So much shit that I will actually show you at this time. So I'm going to leave that to actually play, and we're just going to swap over to other screen. So players are pointing out some of GTA Trilogy's stranger graphical updates. So you've got this anyway, from this character's Stretch, I think? Don't know, it's been a long time since I played San Andreas. But he appears to have like several additional elbows. He's not the only character who has this problem. When they're on the bike, the bodies seem to deform for some reason. This Twitter user, Potad, Vine Potato, has brought together a bunch of different things, but they're all over the place. But you've got some things here. You've got Tommy from Vice City, who appears to have mannequin hands for some reason. Skin tones do not match in the slightest. Don't know what's going on there. And then extremely bright fingernails. Like, what's that about? And then this one I've seen in a good few places. It's like, what the fuck happened here? What is that? This one, I don't know. This seems like a shit post, but maybe it's true. And then the weird arms stuff. And then this rain shit. So there is a a much better, well, not much better video, but like a video of it. Again on Twitter, and as you might imagine, Rain, any kind of very small updates on video just gets absolutely destroyed in streaming. So Rain, for one, terrible, but explosions and that kind of thing also kind of fuck up when you're streaming stuff. But like, look, one, you can't barely see what you're doing, but two, it doesn't render over the fucking water for whatever reason. There's another video from this that I found elsewhere where they drive under a bridge and the rain keeps going, which means it's a screen effect. It's not like an actual in-game thing. It's terrible. Anyway, like, you can barely see what the fuck you're doing is the point, and I do not believe it was like that in the original game. So they've got some kind of off-the-shelf screen space effect, and just didn't bother to fix it for like, it's not rendering over the water for some fucking reason. Swap back to some video stuff for the rest of it. So yeah, a bunch of like this. It's been shit on pretty much by everybody. All players, reviewers, things like that. They're all like, no, this is fucked. There's some stuff for the signage that is in the game that it was probably an AI that scanned it, and it has done a pretty poor job with the low texturing, that it's just not figured out what the words are. So a lot of the signs are mangled, so a lot of the jokes don't make sense anymore. And to couple all of that, Rockstar took the game down off PC. So their own launcher was disabled, and you could no longer purchase the game on PC anymore. And as far as I'm aware, you still can't purchase the game on PC. They didn't say why exactly. They just said there were some files that are in there that we want to remove. And some data mining has suggested that it's probably the fact that the music that's not meant to be in the game is still in the source code. You can still access it. Can't access it in game, but the files are still there. And the other bigger problem that they might have is the code for the hot coffee minigame is also still present in the San Andreas source code. The game itself you can't access. If you're not familiar, hot coffee was a minigame that was never released in San Andreas. It was basically a sex minigame. CJ, the main character of San Andreas, would be invited in by whatever girlfriend that you had at the time for the sex. And in-game, as the one that shipped, it was just like it was a fade to black, and they had some funny commentary, and that was the end of it. In what could be the hot coffee minigame, there was an actual like game of sex, basically, fully clothed, like Ride to Hell Retribution style. But still, it was never accessible. But it was possible to turn it back on with a mod, and that's kind of how it got found out. And there was a big stink about it in like 2004, 2005, where it even went all the way to like US Senate, or it was like, I think it was a Congress meeting about it. Rockstar ended up settling for like $20 million or something, and had to pull San Andreas from store shelves. This would be when like actual discs, like digital distribution, wasn't a thing. Remember, it's still the PS2. Yeah, it was a big stink for them. They had to pull the game and re-release it with that code missing, and completely inaccessible. And they had to do that. It was a lot of money for them, and it was the only way for them to undo the adults only rating that San Andreas was going to get unless they fixed it. So yeah, that was a big sting for them. So yeah, I can imagine that they've pulled it off PC to make sure this doesn't fucking happen again, because they don't want that coming back on top of them. But having pulled it off PC and it being completely inaccessible for people who have actually bought the game, remember the launcher doesn't work. The launcher was pulled offline at the same time as the game was. The game is not purchasable on PC. You can only buy it exclusively through Rockstar. It's not on Steam, I think. As far as I'm aware, it's not on Steam. Anyway. So you need the Rockstar launcher to actually launch the game. That's offline, but has recently come back online, but the game itself is still inaccessible. So people who have bought it on PC are basically saying, refund, please. This is like 2 days that I haven't been able to play something that I have purchased, and it's actually going on 3 or 4 days at this point. And then that's coupled with just general Cyberpunk 2077 flashbacks. People are extremely unhappy with the product that they've gotten, and they are also asking for refunds. So the Rockstar support Twitter, if you want to go into it, there's a bunch of people just going, refund, give me a refund, this game is shit, refund please. And the Twitter account is pushing them to, make a support ticket on the Rockstar website to go like, hey, I want a refund for my game. Thing is, the definitive edition isn't actually on the website as part of a support option. You can't actually pick it. You have to pick the individual games themselves, which is fucking weird. Because I don't think you can get a refund on San Andreas by itself. Like, it comes as part of a package, so it's very weird shit going on there. But yeah, the GTA, the trilogy, the definitive edition is by no means definitive and is gearing up to be another Cyberpunk 2077 shit. And while that's bad in its own sense, it's just reminding me of the ET Atari thing. Like, publishers are definitely getting far too comfortable with shipping broken shit and expecting people to pay for it. And there's going to be a big backlash about this kind of thing. What happened to Atari because of that is like that company just disappeared, went bankrupt, has gone through a bunch of different owners, never got back to the heights it was at, almost completely destroyed the video game industry at the time. And you know what, we have the video game industry has not in any way learned its lesson. This shit is going to happen again. So continuing on from GTA Definitive, so this is a news story that was actually last week, but I did want to point it out because it interested me, I suppose. The Mass Effect N7 day was last Sunday, so Sunday the 7th of November. And typically that's a big Mass Effect thing. They release trailers and shit on that day, or they try to release games on that day and so on. So there wasn't a big thing necessarily. There wasn't a big trailer or anything like that, but there was like a small teaser image. So what they showed off is this poster. Mass Effect will continue, and you've got a spaceship and some people that are getting off the ship. There's another object of some kind a little further up, closer to this crater, but then there's this big crater, and I didn't notice this. This had to be pointed out to me, but now that it has been pointed out to me, it is obvious, and I don't know why I didn't see it. But if you're familiar with Mass Effect, you might think that this general crater lead-in shape looks a lot like a Geth, which would have been a kind of robot sentient AI enemy in the original Mass Effect trilogy. Enemy, and then, depending on how you played your cards, ally by the end of the trilogy. So interesting, because do I want to spoil Mass Effect now for everybody? Depending on your choices at the end of Mass Effect 3, you can have saved the galaxy, but have rendered artificial intelligence basically. You will have killed off synthetic life. So that's a potential, and I think it's considered the canonical ending for the trilogy, but I'm not sure. But this potentially might suggest that, hey, maybe you weren't successful, or maybe some Geth survived, or something like that. I don't know. Maybe it's a whole Geth thing, or maybe it's just, I don't know, they're taking the piss. But, it's there. It's a reminder that whatever the follow-up to Mass Effect is still in development. I did find it funny that there are a couple of different articles that reported about this story, and one of them referred to it as Mass Effect 4, and one of them referred to it as Mass Effect 5. It's a case of which one of you is considering Andromeda as part of the mainline series. It's like one side thinks it's a spin-off and shouldn't count. One side thinks it should. I don't know. I just thought it was funny. Kotaku, for their sins, decided not to affix a number to it. This is probably the best way to go about it. then I don't have a video for this because I didn't think far enough ahead of time, but whatever. Steam Deck has been delayed. Not surprising. Sony have also put out a news story to say that there will be fewer PS5s than they had hoped. Again, stock shortages, the same thing is happening to Steam Deck. Nintendo also reduced their production numbers to say that, yeah, there probably won't be as many Switches as we had planned and so on. So everybody's getting hit by shortages. Mostly it's to do with silicon chips. Not silicon chips, just chips in general. Because they're just in very short supply and the supply lines themselves are quite slow. So yeah, Steam Deck is going to be pushed back to February at some point. So new releases this week. I was going to lump in the new releases of last week with the two, but you know what? Nothing interesting came out last week, so we're going to stick with this week. So first up we have Shin Megami Tensei 5, which is the next entry in the Shin Megami Tensei series. It is a JRPG title where you collect demons, friends, and they fight alongside you. So you can recruit enemies, basically, defeat them in battle, and they will join your team. And is a kind of typical teenagers versus fallen gods and demons in the end of the world kind of story. It's that kind of deal. I'm kind of looking forward to it. Shin Megami Tensei 4 a long time ago, so there's been quite a gap, and the Persona series has kind of sort of taken over. So if you're not familiar, Persona would have been a spin-off of this series. Like this was the mainline series, and then Persona got very popular and has almost eclipsed it in some cases. But yeah, what I've seen of this game looks really, really interesting, and I'm really looking forward to playing it if I ever get around to it. There's so many other fucking games I have to play. And then the other notable release for this week, you'll note that I have not included the GTA Definitive Edition. Skyrim came out again. They re-released it one more time, just for the laugh. Why not? Just bring it up to fucking 30 re-releases of the game. I don't know. Skyrim Anniversary Edition brings a bunch of mods, very popular mods that Bethesda have basically brought in-house and just decided, you know what, let's just make it part of the package. So, updated textures, updated graphics and stuff like that. There have been a bunch of quality of life mods that have been subsumed into it. All the expansions are in place. They've added a couple of new actual new things that weren't in the original game, like fishing is also in there, and then some community mods quests have been added as well. So lots of stuff to get into there for Skyrim. If you have the special edition already on console, you can upgrade to the anniversary edition for like a tenner or a bit more, I think. If you have it on PC, honestly, just stick with the one you have on PC. I don't think there's enough in the anniversary edition that you can't just get through mods. So just stick with the mods, I think. But if you're a console player and have no option to play it on PC and have never played Skyrim before, somehow grab the anniversary edition. Why not? So it's now time to talk about the worst parts, the best part. No, fuck, I really should write this fucking thing down. It is now time to talk about worst part of our favorite hobby. I need to write this down. Anyway, industry bullshit. Here we go. So this is some footage of me playing Snake Eater, and the reason why I have this footage up is Konami have taken down Metal Gear Solid 2 and Metal Gear Solid 3 from digital storefronts. So you can no longer currently purchase Metal Gear Solid 2 Sons of Liberty or Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater, any of the HD editions, and any of the collections that they appeared in. So there's a HD collection that the two games also appear in. You can't purchase that either. They're all gone. They're gone off PlayStation Store, they're off Steam, they're off GOG, they're off Switch, they're off the Xbox, and so on. You can't get them. And the reason is, and it's gotta be the stupidest reason possible, but the reason is there is historical footage used in both games, usually in like little the many cutscenes that happen in the game. Basically, Konami did not renew a licensing agreement for that historical footage, so they've had to take the games down in order to, I guess, renew, I would think, that historical footage, or like go into the game, remove all that footage, and then re-release it, which seems like that's probably not the avenue they'll take. I imagine they'll probably renew the license, but why? Why is historical war footage licensable in the first place? That should almost certainly be either fair use or really like in the public domain. Like that kind of stuff should not be still under anybody's license. Who the fuck owns the license to like World War One footage and World War Two footage and that kind of thing? Like who gets that kind of stuff? That shouldn't be a thing. This shouldn't be a copyright issue, but Konami, obviously not wanting to deal with legal fallout and so on, are just gonna, do their due diligence. But really, they should push for fair use in this case, because it is almost certainly fair use. They're using like a tiny amount of footage. They're not infringing on like any market where this footage would be used. People are not going to Metal Gear Solid for their historical war footage. They'd go to like the fucking History Channel or whatever for that kind of thing. Like this is obviously fair use. So it's just a shitty outcome, and like normally we'd love to shit on Konami, but this isn't their fault. This is absolutely just the copyright industry in general just being very shit, and I just find it strange. Like, we have this for Metal Gear, but we also have it for the GTA Definitive Edition, like not them having to pull music out. And when do you see this in film? When do you see it in TV? When they do TV reruns, they don't cut the music out. They keep it, any licensed music they use. When they do films go on syndication or whatever, they end up on streaming platforms. They don't have to redo that license, right? I might be wrong about this, like I'm happy to be corrected, but as far as I know, if you watch a movie from the 80s who has an 80s soundtrack or whatever, you don't have to. The publishing company doesn't, do they have to keep getting a license for the new music every time? And if they do, why? Again, nobody is like booting up some like 80s, 90s film to listen to that music. They'll go to a streaming platform or whatever. Like they're not going there for the music. I would say the same thing about Vice City, probably. Like, the music was a big part of the game, sure, but if you wanted just the music, you could quite easily just go listen to it somewhere else. I don't get it. So this next story is about, also from last week. It's one of the few news stories that I actually wanted to highlight from last week. So, a better Ubisoft, who are union advocates for Ubisoft, are pushing a public petition out to players, out to developers from other companies, out to just the public in general. A petition to kind of push, CEO Jimo to actually fucking do something about the various demands a better Ubisoft have made, but also just to make it clear that like the public is on their side, it's not on the company side. So they have this picture, "You disappoint us, Jimo, 100 days, 0 demands met. Surely you can do better than this," which is a riff on an email that Ubisoft had sent out to Far Cry 6 players. And it has something in the same bent. It's "You disappoint us" username. This many hours played, or this many outposts liberated or something, and surely you can do better than this kind of thing. So it's just them kind of throwing it back in their face as like, hey, maybe you can do better than this too. So this petition was sent out to kind of highlight 100 days since the open letter that Better Ubisoft had sent to Jimo and upper management outlining their demands as a representative group of the employees. So their demands were stop promoting and moving known offenders from studio to studio, team to team with no repercussions, which is a very Catholic Church thing to do. It's just Catholic Church and police union thing to do. Is just move people around. Anyway, 2, we want a collective seat at the table to have a meaningful say in how Ubisoft as a company moves forward from there, which is seizing its production, basically. Cross-industry collaboration to agree on a set of ground rules and processes that all studios can use to handle these offenses in the future. That's a union, like a industry-wide union, basically. This collaboration must heavily involve employees in non-management positions and union representatives, which is, again, seizing the means of production union stuff. they were fobbed off and told to take it to the company's chief people officer, and all that they got back were nothing more than assurances that something would be done, but nothing has actually been done. So I just wanted to highlight that because the petition is available. It's in this tweet. The link will be in the description of this video. The full disclosure, I have signed it. So if you want to, it's there. Just click that form. It's very straightforward. So sticking with Ubisoft, this is footage of me playing a bit of Far Cry 5. If you like it, you can check it out on the channel. This video's quite old. This was when the game had just come out. Anyway, Dan Hay, who was executive director of the Far Cry series for quite a while, has left the company. And it's been cited that the reason he left is because Far Cry has been pivoting to a live service deal. Like the series itself is going in that direction. This would be accompanied with also the news that Assassin's Creed is also going in that direction. Assassin's Creed Infinity. It's been suggested that that's going to be a live service thing where you can sort of go to some central location and, you know, play as a number of different heroes from the series and jump into different time periods and things like that. But it appears that Far Cry is going to be doing the same thing, and Dan Hay was like, nah. This is not Far Cry for me. Goodbye. Nothing to do with that. I don't particularly like Far Cry all that much. Just put that out there, so it's no skin off my nose what happens to the series. But I would say that yes, a live service for Far Cry does not make sense, because that's just not the kind of game it is. Like, that's not its deal. It's just you dropped in more or less against the environment, you know. It's that deal. It's not meant to be a collecting skins shit. And the Assassin's Creed Infinity thing actually sounds good if it wasn't a live service. If it was a fully single player game where you just drop people into different timelines, fine, that sounds great. I would have gone for that. I don't like the idea of it being a second job, more or less, or a third job, and so on. I don't think that's a good fit. But anyway, so Dan Hay effectively, I think it was Wednesday, leaves Ubisoft, and this will coincide with, or not coincide, but it's a growing trend, we'll say, with Ubisoft losing a lot of its senior and executive staff, mostly to do with just it not tackling its toxic workplace stuff, like the sexual harassment stuff. It's losing a lot of people because they're just not doing anything about it, or appear to be protecting perpetrators rather than protecting the victims. So it's losing a lot of people because of that, and Dan Hay is just the latest in the line. And then last thing we'll talk about for industry bullshit is Nintendo of America President Doug Bowser recently made a statement to say that they were looking into the emulation issues for the N64 games. We're taking all feedback very seriously, and it is definitely our intention to, you know, fix this stuff. And, you know, quality and value for money is a big deal for us, I think, is how he said it. And this video is from a player called ZFG. He's a Ocarina of Time speedrunner, and he's just kind of doing a side-by-side comparison for the game, the emulation quality and so on. And the Switch version is by far the worst out of them all. You know, the N64 version is obviously going to be super blurry because it was played on a CRT, and the Wii Virtual Console did a decent enough job of it. But the Switch emulation has been absolutely fucking terrible. It's so bad. And them saying that we're looking into how we can fix this and improve the quality and so on, like, look at that water. Absolutely. Anyway, one easy way to fix this would be to stop fucking shutting down other emulators. Maybe partner with a good emulator for N64 and just use their one, because they clearly can do it better than you. Just do that. Stop firing your cease and desist, fucking fire and forget missiles. You know, just seek and destroy. That's what it was. Seek and destroy, cease and desist missiles that they keep sending off. Rockstar could take a similar idea and stop fucking DMCAing mods that vastly improved the fucking game. You know, it's just that kind of thing. Why? Why would you do this? I mean, you know exactly why. It's so they can keep all the money, and you can't have anybody else stealing any of the money. But it's still a shitty practice. But them saying that, oh yeah, we take it all very seriously. If you took it very seriously, you would not have, killed so many good emulators. You would have like brought one of them in-house, maybe all of them in-house. Bring all the guys who know what they're doing. Let them do it. Pay them to do it. So we're gonna finish with some dumb stuff. So here's some footage. It's actually official footage from Namco Bandai about, or Bandai Namco, I forget which order that company's meant to be said in. For Elden Ring gameplay. Elden Ring is currently having a closed network test. And they sent out a bunch of keys to like players, streamers, influencers, and so on. But a bunch of those keys have been showing up on eBay and selling them off for like $200, $300 for a fucking beta test of a game that will be out in like a couple of weeks. Like fine that people are selling it. People can put whatever they want, I suppose, on eBay. I would question whether they can actually sell this because it's not like technically has no monetary value, but whatever. I would question the legality of it if Bandai Namco could have a say in it, but whatever. The point is, they can still put it up. The problem is people buying it. What are you doing? What are you doing that you are buying access to a beta of all things for a game that will be out in a couple of weeks? Just wait. You would spend less on the fucking game itself than just to get this fucking key. In fact, you could buy the ridiculous collector's ultra mega deluxe edition with the giant statue and the 1-to-1 helmet for less than they're selling these keys for. This is some of the stupidest shit I've seen for quite some time on eBay. Dumb stuff, if you like. Whatever for people putting the price up, whatever for people trying to sell these keys. They'll try to sell anything, I suppose, on the internet, but what are you doing buying it? Anyway, that was the news for the 8th to the 14th of November 2021. So most of it's just shitting on GTA Definitive Edition. It has not turned out well. It has been a very bad launch for Rockstar. A kind of somewhat surprising launch. Rockstar would typically be known for like very high quality games, but on the other hand, they have lost a lot of people, a lot of developers recently, and they have like more or less just been releasing GTA 5 for like 10 years now. Like Red Dead, yes, like it definitely has considerable quality game. I would argue it's not a particularly fun game to play, but I can't argue that it is a technical and graphical marvel. The GTA, the trilogy, the Infinity Edition, I was about to say Definitive Edition, is not in any way these things. It is not. It's a marvel in some cases, sure. Not in the good way. It's just, this is not a good look for the company. It does smack of a cash grab. It also is pretty shit that they, like right ahead of the Definitive Edition being released, they decided to, DMCA a bunch of GTA 3 mods that were like in the process of like remastering those games themselves, and were so much better quality that what the gaming public has been left with is just reprehensible, honestly, for a company. And I hope they get absolutely shit on for it. They are currently. I'm kind of hoping for another Cyberpunk for them. That's kind of what I want to happen to Rockstar. Well, not to Rockstar specifically, but to Take-Two, definitely. Because Take-Two take the piss. Elsewhere, new releases, Shin Megami Tensei for me. I probably won't get around to it anytime soon, but I am looking forward to playing it whenever I do get to it. Skyrim Anniversary Edition, I've platinumed Skyrim. To be honest, I have no particular interest in going back to it anytime soon. I know for some people it's the I have nothing to play game, so I'm just going to play Skyrim, but it's not. That's not how it's ever been. Plus I have it on PC, and my PC can actually play it. So that's that. Having the Steam Deck delayed, like it's not great, sure, but everyone's being hit by that kind of thing, so it's nothing really Valve has any real control over. There's a reason it was in updates and not in industry budget. Like, this is hitting everybody. There's not a whole lot that can be done, and potentially they'll just have more time to work on the hardware, maybe improve it in some places. The Mass Effect teaser, it's great, but we know pretty much nothing about it, so there's not a whole lot to speculate. Or rather, you could speculate about too much. Like, it's kind of a waste of time. Having the Metal Gear games being taken down, not great, just from a game preservation standpoint. Just being beholden to these kind of licenses and content agreements and stuff like that. I do kind of have the feeling that once it's in, you got your money, fuck off. That's kind of the way I would look at it. We licensed it, we're done, just leave us alone now. It's not the case like the full footage isn't in there, like the full music isn't in there, GTA, oh god, I suppose the actual full track is in there, GTA is the case. But my point is that this isn't how people access it, you know? Like, people aren't booting up GTA Vice City so they can listen to some Michael Jackson music. You know, and hoping that randomly it comes on the radio. You know, that's not what they're doing. In the same sense, like, people interested in historical wartime footage, again, not going specifically to Metal Gear Solid 2, going to this cutscene and, you know, okay, now I can go now I can watch the thing I actually came here to do. You're like, no, they're not doing that. They're doing it because they want Kojima shenanigans, you know, and there happens to be war footage in there. That's it. That's all it is. Anyway, elsewhere on the channel, you can check out some stuff that I have started doing. Sorry, I'm getting caught up with this Elden Ring stuff. Anyway, I've started an Alan Wake Let's Play. You can check that out on the channel. Part 1 should be up at time of recording for this, and Part 2 will be up soon enough after that. And we'll be continuing in that sense. As far as upload frequency or days and stuff like that for Let's Play, I don't know yet. I was uploading quite a few parts of Observer fairly frequently, but again, that was so I could hit the Halloween arbitrary deadline I gave myself. Whereas I don't have one for Alan Wake, so it may be sparse, but I am hoping to do like minimum 1 part a week at least. I am hoping to do 2, but at minimum there will be at least 1 part up. There's also Cozy Grove. I did a quick Foley Plays Cozy Grove for a bit. That should be on the channel as well, and there are more coming up. It's on the video thing. On this side or on this side, I don't know which, as I don't have OBS open. But it's on that side, you can see what's on the way. Games of May. Still have more of Resi to play, because I just have not had the time to do it. But I have more Resident Evil to play, so I can give a proper idea of my feelings around it. Anyway, this has been a weird experiment where I toggle between video and news articles and not being able to read the news articles and just trying to remember what they said. So, I don't know. I will have to probably have another think about how this works. I'll probably have to get, I don't know, a tablet or a laptop or something to have the news articles open so I can read them. At the same time that I can just leave the video up and you guys can watch the video and not have me randomly scrolling up and down on a web page. I don't know. I don't know what the correct format for this kind of thing is, but that's what I'm working on. And this has been an experiment with that, and it's gone okay. It's alright. It could have been better. I think I was a bit floaty with my new stuff because I didn't have the articles in front of me. I don't know. We live and learn about these things. I'll figure it out. Or I won't. Something will happen. Anyway, thanks for watching. Check out some other stuff on the channel if you like, or if you don't like, just do it anyway. Just give me a let's put it on in the background or something. I don't know. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.